IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All-Natural Being. Warning, All-Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for stopping by the 275th episode of the #1 rated show here on IPMNation.com. 275 times the gong heard round the world. You're in to All Natural Being, broadcast as it happens here on IPMNation.com and over on Facebook for Fly on the Wall video. We're live from the Outpost in Columbus, Ohio, with rebroadcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are, here in the Garden of the Mortals, the labyrinth of your life itself. This is your chance to run the board, to run the table. That's why we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list, placing your primal scream front and center in your life. That's why we're always talking about reinstalling and reinstating the true wisdom, the true wit of your inner whisper. And we believe it's time to go be you. It's time to reboot your robust, to out-brutal the brutal that is the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold once and for all. But before we hit it tonight, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Sweden, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands. To those joining us from all over the globe, it really is great to have you with us, and I truly am fired up to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. So let me ask you, are you tired of being institutionalized by the intentions of others, convicted by the constant constructs of another, remanded to a prison of rhetoric, either yours or theirs? Me too. And that's why it's time to mortal up. So what do you say? Let's go kick in some doors. And this evening, I'm thinking about just that. What would it take for you and I to decide, okay, great, we're going to go ahead, as I figure out how to get my microphone to fit on me here, we're going to go ahead and figure out what it takes to go and kick in some doors, specifically in our life, right? What's it going to take? If I'm talking all the time about potential just this side of the infinite, what's it going to take for you to ultimately be able to exercise that potential? What's it going to take ultimately for you to be able to say, yeah, you know what? I think I would like the opportunity. I think I absolutely would be all over the concept of putting my heart's highest priority top of my list. I'd love to see it. What specifically would it take? And that's what I'd like to focus on this evening. Before we hop into it, I want to say hello to Janile. Janile, thank you so very much. Also want to say hello to Candace. Candace, thank you for joining us on All Natural Being. Don't forget you can call in toll-free, 833-462-3968, 833-GO-BE-U if you want to give us a holler. And what we're talking about today is, I kind of dig this. I'm running around, and as you know, I have an absolute belief that everything happens as it should, right in this particular moment in all of time. That no matter what is supposed to unfold for you, it will unfold if you and I are just aware enough, right? If our attitude is tuned enough to the moment at hand. So I'll be out and about, and as I said, I used to say in the mornings when we did this morning show 270 some odd episodes ago that I wrote these shows fresh daily. Well, the same still is the case. So I just have a little more time to write it going on to 8 p.m. in the evening. I have a little more time to be able to pull that off. But I'll be out and about, and something inevitably will hit me, and I go, oh, that's what I want to talk about today. And what hit me was this sign I came across, and I put it over on Facebook. And let me thank everyone for all the shares. It's one of the highest shares posts that I've put up in the last couple of weeks. So thank you for everyone that shared that post. But it was just a little sign that said, cigarette butts are litter too. Or cigarette butts are also litter. Forget exactly what it said. And it made me think, a lot of times we think of litter. We think of huge bags of garbage. We think of wrapping up a fast food wrapper and throwing it out the window of your car, leaving a garbage bag somewhere alongside of the road. You get it. We think of the concepts in a very grandiose way. We think, oh, well, this is all about the litter. But then to be reminded in that stop sign, in that particular moment in all of time. Good evening, Sarah. Thank you for joining us here in All Natural Being. I was reminded that it's the little things, too, that a cigarette butt is considered litter. And it made me think that right after I got out of the hospital after my second surgery, right after I got out of the hospital, I would go for long walks because I believe that, look, in terms of recovering from any chronic illness, you want to focus on your sleep, right? You definitely want to focus on your stamina, and you want to focus on the stress. If I had to pick three things, if anyone was going to go, oh, what are the three things? If you remember the three S's. Improve the quality of your sleep, improve the quality of your stress, because not all stress is bad, right? Oxidative stress, philosophical stress, and improve the quality of your stamina. Take the stairs if you can take them. Park a couple of parking spots away. Don't be like that person that sits and waits for the one spot to open. They'll sit there for 20 minutes waiting for one spot closest to the door. Beautiful sunny day in Gargantua. Can't wait to. Right, can't find a parking space on the other side of the parking lot. It's got to wait, back up traffic with the left-hand turn signal blinking. Right, just so they could possibly get the closest in space. And when I saw this sign this morning, again, I thought about it's the little things. When I was recovering, I would go out for these walks. Because, one, it would make me tired at the end of the day, so it would help me with my sleep. It would help me with the stress, right, philosophical and oxidative stress. Just get out there and move around a little bit. And the same with stamina. It would help me. I'd get stronger every day. So I would decide the best thing I could do in terms of producing the endorphins to help manage the pain, because I refused, to take the painkiller. I refused to take the anti-stroke, imagine wanting to give me antipsychotic medication. I go, look, I've been psychotic for so long. There's no medication you're going to be able to give me to change that. You tried to carve it out of me. It still didn't work, right? But in any event, I'd go out for these long walks. And one particular morning, and honest to goodness, this happened to me half a dozen times over the space of a couple months. I'd go for these long walks, and where I lived was not far. There was a wooded area at one end, and then you'd come out of the wooded area, and there was a shopping mall or a plaza, right, like a strip mall. And they'd have just miles of stores and restaurants and everything else. So one particular morning, I was out for my walk, and I decided to go up to the particular intersection to make a left-hand turn, and I stopped there at the stop sign, getting ready to make the left-hand turn, and looked down. There was a penny on the ground. I go, oh, that's cool. I'll bend over. I'll pick up that penny, right? I was interested going, oh, what's the chance? Could it have been a penny from 1960, whatever, the year that I was born? Now that I've celebrated my 49th birthday like 20 times. I thought, oh, I'll pick up that penny, see what year it was minted. And I picked up the penny, and I was holding it, and I went for another walk, and just a couple more yards down the road, there were two more pennies. And I thought, wow, the 3 cents, that's good. I'm just a couple dollars away from a can of Monster, so I'll just keep this thing going, right? What a boon this is. And honest to goodness, by the time I was done and I'd work my way through the parking lot and, I think there was a Meijer or maybe a Home Depot or Applebee's. I think there was some, there was some other restaurants like that. Well, you work through the parking lot, and you find people just dump these pennies out. At the end of my 2-hour walk, honest to goodness, truth be told, there were a couple nickels and I think one dime. But I made $1.35. Just finding pennies on the ground, totaling them all up. And I didn't have any pockets. I had running shorts on. So I'm carrying these pennies, handful of nickels and one dime, $1.35. And I thought, who is it that's throwing away all these pennies, right? I couldn't get it off my mind. Good evening to Chris. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. We're talking about recovering from my second brain surgery, and they would send me out and about, right? I go on these long walks, and one particular morning I went out for a walk, and I found $1.35 worth of basically pennies, a few nickels and a dime. And then it made me think, so many people are like, oh, it's just a penny. What does that matter? Just throw it away. Oh, it's just a penny. It doesn't add up to anything. Just toss it. People find a penny, let it drop on the ground. They go, oh, don't bother bending over and picking that up. It's only a penny. Well, I had made $1.35 just walking around, right, looking for change on the ground. Good evening, Laura. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. Thank you very much. And I owe a couple of prayer bowls this evening for certain. As I said, the prayer bowls for all the shares. Thank you all very much. We're talking about walking around, and I found $1.35 all told of pennies on the ground. And then I realized in people's mindsets, oh, it's only a penny, just toss it. Right? It's just change. Don't worry about it. It's only a penny. It's only a penny. What is that? This is not worth anything anymore. It's only a penny. $1.35. Governments talk all the time. Well, let's just get rid of the penny. It's only a penny. It really doesn't matter. Now, dollar bills, that's what matters. I want to hold on to those paper. To be honest with you, I've never in my life have I found a dollar bill. Right? Like someone decided, oh, there's too much weight in my pocket. I'll get rid of some of these ones. Right? Too much clanging around when I get out of the car. So I'll toss these pennies. And when I saw that sign this morning, hello, Ruthie. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. When I saw the sign this morning about cigarette butts are litter too, I thought, well, in most people's minds, they're just small, little, insignificant things. They're just pennies, right? Just cigarette butts. How can that pile up to be litter? Just cigarettes. It's just a cigarette butt. How can a penny pile up to mean anything? It's just a penny. Good evening, Lee. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. We're talking about people discarding pennies. People taking cigarette butts, throwing them out the window of their car. And the sign that I found this morning, not far from where I live, I've been wanting a metal detector. Candace, you and me both. we should hang out sometime. We'll go to the beach with metal detectors, and we'll just work up and down. Laura, thank you very much. Howdy, Lee, to you as well. So in this sign this morning, I saw, Lee, what says, the cigarette butts are litter too. Right? And then I thought people want to think about trash. They want to think about littering as big bags of garbage. They want to think about money as big dollar bills, not these scrawny little cigarette butts, not these, right? Not these toothpicks, not these pennies. And we've kind of just thrown away the concept of just because it's small, it's really not worth all that much. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So the moment I saw that sign this morning, the moment that I saw that little moniker that I posted up over on Facebook that said cigarette butts are litter too, made me think back to finding all those pennies. And maybe more importantly, it made me think back to it's the tiniest little thoughts at times that we discard that have the greatest impact in our lives. The tiniest little thoughts. The thought of thinking, oh, I absolutely deserve to be happy. Happiness, what is it? I'll just toss it out the window. Oh, I absolutely deserve, right? That just a little infinitesimal thought of, oh, I deserve to put my heart's highest priority top of the list. Whatever. I'll just let it go. I got bills to pay. I got to do this. I got to do that, right? I got to buy into the mashugana of the marketplace. I got to buy into all the static quo. But just the little thought of me wanting to put my primal scream front and center in my life, not that big a deal. So that we take some of our dreams, we take some of our wishes, we take some of our goals, we take little slivers of our destiny, and we just discard it like a cigarette butt or pennies out of your pocket. We just discard it because it's really not worth all that much. But when it comes to putting your heart's highest priority top of your list, what if you're wrong? What if it's worth everything? And maybe just like pennies, you save up enough pennies. Like, I think I brought the $1.35 home. I put it in a little jar, and over the next couple of weeks, I found enough to $2. I went and bought myself a can of Monster. Right? And just a little side note, you should see when I'll go into places from time to time, and I'll go to buy a can of Monster, and people will go, "Oh, you got to watch that Monster. That'll kill you." No. The brain tumor is going to kill me. The Monster just means I'll have a halfway decent time. Or, I'll have a smile on my face when I go. But just like those collection of pennies, pretty soon I saved them all. Put them in a little jar. I had like a little a ball jar, and I put all the money that I found. I cleaned it up, put in some warm water and some soap just to make just to clean up, just launder it a little bit, right? But I had enough to get within a couple of weeks, maybe even just a week. I had myself enough to get a can of Monster. Well, it's the same thing when you have your slivers of destiny, and you go, yeah, it's just me. Hello, Janice. Thank you very much for joining us at All Natural Being. Oh, it's just me. It's just a sliver of my destiny. It's just one of my little hopes, one of my little dreams, one of my little whatnots. It's okay just to throw it away. But what if there's a cumulative effect? What if it really is like the straw that breaks the camel's back? What if we're so busy? It's what kills me all the time when you hear people say, I'm killing time. I got nothing to do. I'm killing time. Killing time. And maybe you and I look at our little chunks in our day the same way we look at pennies and cigarette butts. Maybe we look at little chunks in our day. Good evening, Lisa. Ruthie, I absolutely agree with you. It's not the size of the dream. It's its power and your potential. Ruthie, I absolutely agree. Good evening, Lisa. Thank you for joining us here on All Natural Being, or at least stopping by. I never can tell when I look at my phone if people are actually stopping by, or kind of like when you butt dial someone. I go, oh, maybe they just came by accident. And here I am calling them out. Hey, don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining us, even if you didn't intend on it. But what if a combination of all those pennies, a combination of all those little slivers, a combination of all those things? One, it builds up to be, right, just like a snowflake in an avalanche. Right? You study avalanches, you go, I know it's kind of cliche, if not trite. It's to say, oh, a snowflake and all, an avalanche begins with a snowflake. Well, it really does. $1 billion begins with a penny. A ton of waste pulled alongside of a city street at the end of the month. In cigarette butts, it all adds up. Well, what if those little slivers of your destiny adds up? Good evening, John. Hello to you as well. What if those little slivers of your destiny adds up? More importantly, forget about just the cumulative effect of it. What if it kind of builds on itself, not unlike an avalanche? And so what if you start buying back? What if you start owning? What if you start standing for some of these little slivers of your destiny? Some of the little times in your day where you go, no, 1/72nd of your day, a 20-minute victory. What if you decided that, no, I will put my heart's highest priority. I will make it top of the list. Good evening, Henry. Thank you for joining us. Which reminds me, we'll have a very special guest in studio tomorrow night. Now that I think about it, this will be our first in-studio guest. I don't want to tease it, other than to say, you're going to love this guy. And he's coming, with a posse. Yeah, he's got a gang, a group, right? He's got, what do they call him? Entourage. And he'll be here first time tomorrow evening. So we're excited about that, obviously. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, Dana. Please tell Gabriel we said hello as well. We're talking about what if you take those little slivers of your day and you make something of them. Instead of discarding them like a cigarette butt, instead of discarding them like just pennies, throwing them out of your pocket, what if you decide that today is the day that I'm going to be a little narcissistic? I'm going to be a little selfish. Everyone running around going, oh, you don't want to be selfish? Oh, baloney. Oh, you don't want to be narcissistic? Oh, please. It's no wonder you wear flip-flops. You haven't mastered the acumen yet of actually tying a bow in your shoes. Go away. Right? Because think about it. If there are people out there that won't give you 1/72nd of your day to put your heart's highest priority top of your list, what are they doing in your orbit? Why are they a satellite? Why are they a part of your life at all? You're asking for one 20-minute chunk. And just like those pennies, they start to add up. 833-462-3968. It's toll free. 833-462-3968. Or don't forget to go be you. 833-GOBEYOU. Thank you, Dana Lee, very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hello to you as well. So what would it take? What would it take to convince any of us to put our heart's highest priority top of the list, to ignore all of our critics, to ignore the static quo in our lives? Dana Lee, thank you very much. 833-462-3968. Absolutely correct. 833-462-3968. Thank you for typing that in. I got enough to focus on here. Someone said to me the other day, when you're doing your show, are you on your phone? Are you like checking? Yes, I am. Everything, well, I'll show you real quick. I don't know if I've shown you this before, but everything kind of comes over. Can you see it on there? So that's how I'm able to see what's going on, because they've not perfected the acumen here in the metropolis of Columbus, Ohio, as Lee can probably attest to. Kelly, if you're watching, right? So I'm limited in the amount, even with a business bandwidth for internet, you're limited, so you can't afford to actually put up a signal and be pulling down a signal to watch what you're doing at the same time. So I never have any clue how any of this looks, unless it is from my little phone. 833-462-3968. If you have an example of how, in the past, maybe, you've treated your heart's highest priority like a penny, like an individual. It's not really all that important in and of itself, right? But what if you were going to release that potential? What if you said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to buy into this for just 1/72nd of my day. I'm going to buy into this concept of potential, just this side of infinity. What would it mean? Because it's the little things. What's the cliche? Little things come in big packages. I'm sorry, big things come in little packages, I guess, the inverse. What's your little thing? What's your little thing that you've been ignoring? What's your little thing that you're like, it's only a penny, Bri? What's that little thing? Good evening, Paul. Nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by, All Natural Being. What's that little thing, right? Maybe even if we take it a step further, what's that little thing that we use to incarcerate ourselves? What's that little thing that we use to talk ourselves out of who we ultimately are? What's that little thing? Good evening. Thank you for calling All Natural Being. Who is this? Or that would work just as well. Thank you for calling. You're welcome to text us too if you like. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. It was a very brief call. Thank you for moving it right along, right? So we can get other people in. Thank you so very much. 833-462-3968. 833-GO-BE-YOU. We're talking tonight about the cumulative effect of little things. How about honoring ourselves? Henry, that's a great one. How about honoring ourselves? I think that's a fantastic one. Ruthie says, could have been a real ripple effect. Fear and doubt is that little thing. I would agree with you. And then, Ruthie, not only in terms of the ripple effect, you're absolutely right. If it's fear and doubt, it becomes like an avalanche, right? It becomes just a snowball rolling downhill. Absolutely right. Hello, Paul, to you as well. All right, let's try this again. See who we got. Good evening. Welcome to All Natural Being. Who's this?
This
Hi, Candace. How are you?
Okay.
What are you up to?
Oh, not much. Just watching your show.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to call, and thank you for the shares. Thank you. It's always nice, and I can tell just from a little bit of the delay that I can hear the phone ringing now, so we're a few seconds behind. But thank you so much, Candace, for always helping me spread the message.
I need to turn my phone off, don't I?
No, I would think maybe just the volume down a little bit, but I still want to be able to hear your voice. Don't worry about that. We'll make that work. So what would be, Candace, an idea, something that you think is the little things in life that maybe we don't pay enough attention to, or the inverse, little things in life that we pay too much attention to? What would be on your list, do you think?
Well, it took me a lot of years to break the chains of how everybody thought of things that I didn't think of. I don't know how to say it. Very controlling about how they felt, and I was always afraid to say how I felt about life and things I felt, and I had to just break those chains away from all that. And say, this is me.
Groovy.
And if you don't like it, this is how I am.
I remember a friend of mine one time told me, Candace, oh, there's the screen door. Don't let it catch you in the backside on the way out. Right? So it's just like, hey, this is how I'm going to be. If you don't like it, there's the door.
Yeah, it took me a lot of years to get to that point.
And Candace, if you don't mind, if I could ask you to share, when you said that you broke the chain, what specifically, if you don't mind sharing, what did you do? What was the tipping point in your mind?
I think that a lot of it had to do with, like, how my, I hate to say it, family and people that I was surrounded with believed. And things that was important to them was not important to me.
Gotcha.
And they would dwell on things that I couldn't understand, like, say, monetary things. And I just had to get away from all that. In the morning when I get up, I don't know what it is, but I have like hundreds of redbirds, cardinals in my yard.
Very cool.
I don't know why. Nobody else does. So in the mornings when I get up, I'll look out the window and just watch them, and they're watching me. It's really odd.
Well, but very cool.
And I started noticing things more so when I just kind of broke away from all that stress and all that you know, you should be this way, and you should be this way only type of situation.
Right.
And now I'm a lot happier of a person.
Well, Candace, I should tell you that Ruthie says over in the feed, if you can't see it, she says, cool, proud of you for doing that, Candace. And what I would ask is that, I'm fascinated by all the redbirds in your yard. Do you think that perhaps...
It's really strange. I've talked to both of my neighbors, and they actually will sit on the ground and just stare at me, or they'll be on my patio furniture trying to look in. It's really strange. I've asked a lot of people about it. And I lived in Ona my whole life. And when I moved to the city, I'd see one, flying around up there every now and then, but nothing like this. Nothing like this at all.
Well, do you sense that maybe they were there, but just as you said, you were busy buying into what everyone else said you should do or you shouldn't do, and that takes up a lot of bandwidth. That takes up a lot of mental grit to constantly be worried about the status quo.
I thought about that. I thought that maybe all of this was here, and I never paid any attention to it. And now I pay attention to. I love nature.
Cool.
I pay attention to things that I never did before my whole life, ever.
Very cool.
It took me a lot of years. I'm telling you, it was rough.
Yeah, but you have such a passion in your laugh now. I can almost picture your smile watching you tell that story. So, can I say that it was worth the effort? In retrospect, when you look back, you're like, yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, but you certainly got a great sound to your laugh now.
Yeah. I've just accepted the fact that people, are as they are. I am who I am.
Sure.
And I'm not going to be stressed out by it anymore.
Good for you.
I'm done.
That's why I call it the static. That's why I call it the static quo, Candace. Like if you're traveling back and forth between Ona or wherever else you're going, you go to tune on the radio, there's some of that static. When I joke all the time about the crying babies, right?
Yeah.
All the people that are upset. Oh, I have this one for you, Candace. You might appreciate this. I actually recorded this, and I use this from time to time to remind me of the static quo. This was a particular July. I was in the Everglades, and the mosquito bite rate was in excess of 400 a minute. 400 mosquitoes. The mosquitoes are everywhere. And of course, as one would, I decided to camp out overnight because I wanted to record. And here's the recording I came up with. So for me, Candace, what I did was I sat in the tent and I put my headlamp right up at the top of the tent, and the mosquitoes would just dive bomb that little headlamp, and I recorded it all. So now when people go, oh, you should do this or you should do that, and I can't get to the crying baby, right? I just go, well, you're busy whining, right? I play the mosquito master in my mind and go, yeah, everyone's looking to treat you like a pincushion, but your laugh is it's so sweet to hear you laugh because it sounds heartfelt. It sounds like there's a big smile on your face, so you're winning.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, it took me practically a lifetime to get where I'm at. But I don't let the stress and I don't know how to say it, like people that dwell on things and just over and over and over again.
Right.
And I just learned how to tune all that out. Tune it out and get up and leave, whatever I have to do. And when I do, I don't think about it anymore.
Well, I will share with you.
I just leave it alone. It's gone.
Couple things that have popped up, Candace, over in the thread. Ruthie says that the natural beauty will bring out your inner ambition. And I think the inverse, Ruthie, is also true, that maybe the cardinals, maybe the red birds in your yard go, yeah, Candace has got it dialed in. And they just dig the energy. They dig the laugh. Brian, welcome to All Natural Being. Brian says to honor yourself by drawing lines or creating boundaries for other. They need to know from the beginning. So it sounds like you've gotten really good, Candace, and as Henry says, better late than never, at drawing boundaries for yourself and for others.
Right. That was one thing that I had to figure out. You have to draw boundaries. And when people cross those boundaries and put you in a situation, I just absolutely don't allow it.
So you have like a big no trespassing sign.
Drag the negativity in on me. I won't put up with it anymore.
So just like a big no trespassing sign.
Right.
Yeah. And I joke with people all the time, would you leave your front door wide open? Someone rings the doorbell, they've got a couple cans of spray paint. Would you let them come in and just graffiti your house? Right? Graffiti your couch, your dog, your cat, your refrigerator. We wouldn't let someone do that, but yet we'll let the rhetoric of another person, not you anymore. You've said clearly, as Brian says, you've honored yourself by drawing lines and creating boundaries so it doesn't affect you anymore.
Well, for me, I had to. I think that I just got to the point where I was just so stressed out and just so done with it all, that it was literally making, a lot of it was making me sick.
Okay.
And I just had to stop. Absolutely had to stop.
Well, I think everyone in the thread agrees with me when we say we're really glad you did, right? That you, as Brian said, you drew those boundary lines for yourself and for others. And
right.
Your smile is as infectious. I can hear it in your laugh. So good for you. I know, right? I know why you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. There's going to be even more birds, and you're going to go like, I never should have said that to Brian. Now I can't get rid of these birds.
It's really amazing, and I really need to grab my phone and video them because I really honestly can't figure out what they're doing. But, like I said, maybe I wasn't paying attention to what was really around me that I really loved. I was ignoring.
Sure.
Because of all the negativity and just,
Well, Candace, you've heard of that occupational blindness where at times we can't see things that are right in front of us because we're so busy focused on all the mashugana. As Henry says, everyone can try to derail you from your path, but only you can actually derail yourself. And a part of that derailing could be we just have blinders on because we're so used to being barraged, just riddled with the rhetoric of others.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that, that's a big problem today. People just have blinders on, and they're focusing on things, and a lot of it really doesn't matter. They're making issues out of things that really just doesn't matter. But, and I do agree with you when you were talking about things, happen like it's supposed to be.
Sure.
I do believe that.
It just seems to unfold when we're focused on the moment at hand. It just seems, whatever your definition of the universe is, however you define the divine, it just seems that the synchronicity, the serendipity of it all, it just seems to open up. I should also tell you, Candace, I'm not sure if you can see the thread, but I agree with Ruthie. Ruthie's like, yeah, let us see a picture of the birds. So we would love that. If you get up tomorrow morning, call us back tomorrow night, and we'll post the picture right here in the thread.
I've seen them just sitting on the ground. I'll go to the kitchen window, and it'll just be staring at me. I'll be like, okay. And then I noticed they're across the street also. And I asked both my neighbors. There's only 3 houses on my street. And neither one of them has ever seen one.
Really?
Yeah,
there you
it's
go.
really strange.
Well, they know where the good energy is now. Candace, thank you so very much. And if you get up tomorrow morning, right, you have a cup of coffee and you see the birds, you snap a picture, call us back tomorrow night, put the picture in the thread. We would love, we would love to see it.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool. All right, my friend. Well, it was great to hear the sound of your voice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nervous.
No, stop.
I'm a little nervous and a little mealy-mouthed right now because I was kind of nervous about calling in. So
not at all. Don't ever be nervous. You did great. Wait till you see all the birds that show up tomorrow morning. Then you'll be nervous. You'll go, man, I can't keep talking about it. All right, my friend. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Good night now. All right. So you got to know I dig that. Also, John, good evening, John. Good evening, Sue. Thank you for watching All Natural Being. Hope everything's going well with you. John says we have to collectively realize that we've been lied to, and the manufactured constructs we never consented to is keeping us from realizing our true potential and refute the manufactured construct. We never consented to this in the first place. And you know what, John? It was almost like we were talking about last evening, where you sign up and you belong to a housing association, HOAs, housing organization authorities, or whatever they're called. They're like, someone told me the other day, they go, well, you can't have more than 10% green weeds in your yard. And you know how I'm a slave to fashion when it comes to yard work. And I go, look, I'm just happy that it's green. 100% grass. Where do you get off? Look, they go, you got to pull those weeds. I go, that's like the only green left in the yard. Leave the weeds right where they are. Brian says, Why I didn't draw boundaries, it was because of fear that I would be rejected and fail. I think Brian's absolutely right. Fear can be so paralyzing. But then I suspect, Brian, as it's been the case for me, maybe for you as well, that when we take that fear and we look at it, and in one of my favorite movies of all time, what was it? What About Bob? Right, with Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, and he writes the book called Baby Steps. Maybe the way to address fear is not to go, oh, I wish I weren't fearful. Well, fearful is just an energy, right? Fearful is just the juice you need to be able to decide if you're going to stand and fight or you're going to tuck your tail and flee. That's all fear is. So maybe we can expose ourselves to little bits of fear. And in fairness, Brian, I ask, what are the little things we could do? You could very well say, B, well, you know what? When there's something that I'm afraid of, I don't go, I'm going to face this fear for the next 8 hours. You might say, I'm going to face it for the next 8 seconds, the next 8 minutes. Maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe that's the way to do it. John says, Candace, you're great. Thanks for calling in. I absolutely echo that, Candace. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see the pictures. That's just going to be great. Ruthie as well. I think Ruthie's right. She goes, I want to see the pictures. If you can get video on your camera, let's see that too. That'd just be great. But it speaks to my belief that when you're smiling, that energy, there's that, everyone will say, oh, well, it just had a good vibe. She had a good vibe. He's got a good vibe about him. Well, I think there's something to that. And if you think about, what is it? The visual spectrum. What do you and I see? Like a sliver? Talking about a penny. When it comes to the overall spectrum of light, what do we see? Henry, you'll know. John, I'm sure you'll know. What do we see when it comes to, when it comes to a percentage of that overall spectrum? Minuscule. How about, we hear about dog whistles. How about, Ruthie, what is it? Like with a percentage of what we can hear in terms of the overall auditory spectrum? Sliver. So how can we say that when it comes to cognition, right, we know just such a small little sliver of overall cognition? But is there anyone here that can definitively prove? Hello, Kathy. Thank you for watching All Natural Being. Thank you for everything, as a matter of fact. I'm glad you made it home okay. How do we know? Candace, you did great. There was no reason to be nervous. You did fantastic, my friend. And I was just talking about you again. How do we know that given that small little portion of the spectrum, small little portion of what we can see, a small little portion of what we can hear, how do we know that the birds can't sense that Candace has got like a huge smile on her face? That Candace is starting the day going, I'm not going to buy into the static quo. I'm not going to buy into the crap about everyone, right? All the mashugana of the marketplace. And how do we know, unlike her neighbors, because the bird's like, I'm not going in that yard. How do we know? That the birds, well, because we can't sense it in our cognitive spectrum? John says 0.0035%. Thank you, John, very much. Brian says, indeed, great service you have here. I found it by accident. How do we find you again? Brian, thank you so very much. We're on every evening. Or you can come back here to the Facebook page. We're also at IPMNation.com/ANB now, or we have IPM Nation, which is Live 3 called Mortal Up Radio. But Brian, thank you so very much. And we broadcast live over the radio. So if you're listening on your phone, or we're here each evening on Facebook for, as we call it, Fly on the Wall video. But thank you so very much, Brian. I really appreciate not only your insights earlier, but just for letting me know. I super appreciate it. Matter of fact, that gets a gong. Oh, that's a prayer bowl. How about we do this? That deserves a gong. What is a gong? That deserves a gong. There you go. All right. So, Candace, thank you again. We're going to get ready to wrap it up here pretty soon. Thank you so much again for calling in, and we're excited to see the birds tomorrow morning. But I'd like you to think about that, right? Just a small little bit of the visual spectrum we're able to see. Small, right? Can't see the same thing a bat sees, Small little bit of the auditory spectrum. Can't hear what a cat hears, can't hear what a dog hears. That's what a dog whistle is, right? Can't hear it. Small little portion of the spectrum. When it comes to the cognitive spectrum, how do we know the birds can't tell Candace has got it going on, right? And if the birds can tell, how do we know the rest of the universe can't tell that Candace has finally got it going on? That Candace decided to put her heart's highest priority top of the list. That Candace decided that, look, it's about my primal scream, and if you don't like it, there's the door. Right? Put them alongside of the highway, throw some gravel, and say goodbye in the rearview mirror. How do you know? We don't know. And if there's a scientist out there that says, oh, Bri, that's just crazy. Well, nice to meet you. But if there's another scientist that says, oh, that's just crazy. Birds can't tell that she's in a good mood. How do you know? And again, whenever you hear someone that says something that's you're like, oh, no, that can't be. I always just check their feet. They got loafers on for a reason. They haven't figured out how to tie a shoelace yet. How do we know that the birds aren't digging that Candace is putting her heart's highest priority top of the list? All right, you get where I'm going. John, thanks again for everything. I will see you tomorrow as well. Ruthie, thank you. Henry, thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Candace for calling in. I super appreciate it. We can't wait. Brian, thank you so very much. Kathy, thank you so very much for joining us here on All Natural Being. Have an absolutely fantastic evening. Don't forget, cigarette butts are litter. Save your pennies. And what are the smallest little things that you could do right now to put your heart's highest priority top of the list? What are the smallest little sliver of things that you could do to smile about who you ultimately are? What are the tiniest, tiny little things that you could be grateful for, that you possess in this moment, in all of time? No carrots on the end of the stick, no goals to achieve. Who you are right now in this particular moment in all of time. All right, we're going to run. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. Thanks to the good folks at IPM Nation to put up with me day in and day out. Thank you so much for all that. And we will see you tomorrow night. Until then, go be you.
IPMNation.com.